Hi friends, welcome to WebChamp. In this video, I am going to discuss what is control in Power Automate. So if you go to the Power Automate, if you try to create a flow, so I will create instant cloud flow. I will consider the trigger as a manually trigger so that I can trigger at any time if I want. So this is the way you can start creating a flow. This is designer. You can name the flow as you wish. So I will say control. Okay, so what we did is we selected a flow, we selected a trigger, and now if you go to the actions, there is something called control in built-in tools. If you open this, you will see the condition. So if you want to execute a conditional flow, you can do that using this condition. So this is very similar to the if else in programming or if block in programming. Even if you are a user of Excel, so there you use the if formula. Similarly, here it works. So initially you define the conditions will it will check for the conditions. If the conditions are true, you can define what to be the output, meaning what should it do for the next. You can add the next actions for the true also. You can add the next actions for the false also. So you can control the execution of flow based on the condition. So condition is nothing but if else, you can remember. Then sometime you may have the data in the form of array. So you need to loop through the array. So there for each loop is used. So in programming, the way we have for loop, here we have applied to each loop. So this is nothing but for each loop. So execute a block of action for each item in the input array. Whatever the array you will pass, it will create a scope, and that scope will be executed for each item. Okay. Then do until there is something called execute a block of action until a specified condition evaluates to true. Okay. So this is again another kind of loop, while loop in a programming. Then we have a scope. So this is just a block, okay, that is used to group the actions together for the better organization, and even we can use this cube for error handling also. Then we have a switch. So conditions works on the conditions. So here in conditions, you can specify the greater than, less than, okay, kind of things, less than or is equal to, greater than or is equal to, not is equal to operators. You can specify in the condition using, if you want to give the multiple conditions, you can use and operator or operator. But you don't want to use anything. Okay, so there is a situation like weekday, you have a day number, so you are getting based on the day number. So if you get a number and you may want to return the output as a day name, so in that case you can use the switch. Even this is applicable for the month number also. So month, if you have a month number, you can convert that to the text using the switch. So what switch will does, conditions can check for the less than or is equal to, but switch will check for the is equal to, and we can define the multiple cases at the instance. Meaning, let's say you are using a switch for the month. So how many months we have? We have 12 months in a year. So for first month, you will say case 1. If the output of your expression is a 1, that means that month is January. If it is 2, that means the month is February. This is how we can use. So let's start using this. Okay. So before starting, I would like to create an variable. I'm not accessing a data from any of the file at this moment, because that will be more complicated at the initial stage. So try to understand the things here, and let me say okay. Then if I go to the variable, because I would like to create a variable, that variable is going to hold the values. So I will say day. Okay. And this will be the array. And I will pass the list of values as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a week. Let me save this. So this, the variable name is day and values are like this, right? So we have here, I can say day number. You can edit the names of actions as you want, but you need to make sure that you will use the same name to access the output of this in future or for the further actions. Okay. So we will see how we can access that also. So here I used variable that is of, you can see this is of kind of array. So if I add the action, now what I would like to do is I would like to give the condition. Okay. But before giving the condition, I don't have a value. Okay. So what I will do is I will create another variable. Let me open this built-in variable and let's say initialize variable. And here I will say day number. Day number, let's say this is 1 and our week starts with Monday. So Monday is my day 1. Okay. So here, okay, what happened? So it has not picked the, okay, let me do the again. Built-in tools. Inside a built-in tools, I am going to initialize a variable and okay, that is because of day 1. Okay, I will say this is as a day 1, then day 1 and integer and value will be 1. Let me try to save this. Okay, so fine. I defined two variables, day 1 and day number and day only. Okay, so this will be only day. Fine. So here, now next is I would like to do something. I would like to use the conditions. Okay, I would like to use the conditions. So I would like to control the flow, right? So here, if I go and say use the conditions. So by default, what it does, it will use the previous step outputs, right? So we have a two different types of day num and day 1. So I'm going to select a value here as a day 1. And if this is equals to 1, okay, if this is equals to 1, let's check this out and say save. If this condition is true, if this condition is true, it should say, it should show me the output, but how I can see the output? Now this is not going to work. See, if I use compose, I don't want to do anything. I will just say day 1. Okay, fine. Okay, I'm using compose just to test it, but this is not a good approach. So what I will do is I will run the flow. I have created a flow to check whether it shows the output or not. So compose should show us the input and output. Okay, so if I come here, you can see input is 1, output will be 1 because we are not performing anything here, right? So we can use we can use this condition here. We can put the condition. Okay, if I edit this, so inside a condition we specified if the day 1 is equal to 1, so we can see it has executed a true block, right? Let me go up and change the value. Day 1 is my condition is if day is equal to 1. What will happen if it what will happen if day is not 1? So I will say compose and I will say day 1, right? Here my condition will get failed. If my condition will get failed, this should execute, or this flow should execute the false. So you can see the execution sequence, how it works. So earlier it was showing tick mark for this true. Now it will show the tick mark for the false. So here you will be able to understood by looking at this tick. You can see that first step this is evaluated, then this is successfully, this is successfully, this is successfully evaluated, and based on the condition you can see the result expression, or expression result is false. If it is false, it has executed a false block, and here you can see output is 2, output is 2. But if I go to this compose, there is nothing. Okay, so what it says, action branching condition not satisfied. So this compose execution of action compose skipped, the branching condition for this action is not satisfied. Okay, so this is how you can see the message. So we are able to control the flow. Okay, fine. So now we got, for one value we can do the execution. This is fine. So here instead of day you can have the value of any other type also. All right, so this is so simple to use the conditions. Now I have a day number. Oh my god, I edited that day, or I must have deleted something else. Okay, so day number, and let me say this is an array, and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so this is the list of values. Compose output required. Okay, this is fine. So why it is giving me the error? Because I denum and denum. Even this condition day 1 is not there. So if I say denum is equal to 1, I'm just trying to save the flow successfully. Okay, I know the condition is become false. Okay, so what I did here, I used the array. I gave the list of array. Here what I'm trying to do is I am trying to check the value of day number is equal to 1 or not. Okay, so here you can see, we will see. Okay, we will see that. We will try. Okay, so now if I test, so I know this expression will result into false, and the false block will be executed, and you will be able to see the list of values in false block as an output. So I will show you the compose of this. So you can see, okay, so filled inputs values. So value is 1 2 3. So index, if you see 0 1 2 3 4 5 6. So this is how it works. Okay, internally the field, first field will be referred as a 0 index. So these indexes can be used. Okay, let's understood how we can slice out the array. These indexes can be used to access the value, but where I can access the value? Okay, here, if I edit this, if I edit this here, you need to pass Instead of day number, you can pass 17 more. You can pass body, not date, and headers and timestamp. I don't want to use this. So let's do something else. So how to access the values of array? So here I would like to access the values of array for a 0. So what I'm going to do is this will return an array and array and the I'm going to export or slicing out the zeroth position, zeroth position value. Let me add this. Then let me try to save this. Okay, because indexes can be used with the array. So now let's run the test. Now what it should do, as per my expectation, it should execute the true block, right? Why? Because this condition results are true at zeroth position. At zeroth position, meaning the first value, we have a 1. So input field is this, and again output is this is fine. Our input and output is not going to be, we are not doing any kind of calculation on it here. Okay, so if you want to do the calculations, you will be able to do a day num. Okay, and okay, fine. So we are just passing an array. Okay, that is not going to make a sense. Now the problem is, now the problem is, if I want to check for the multiple conditions, meaning if the day this is equal to 1, I am able to give the condition for one value using conditions, but I would like to give the conditions for all the 7 values. Here, that kind of scenario is not possible with the conditions. Okay, then how I can do? Then how I can do? See, here you can go and check the one by one, change the conditions and run the flow. That is fine, but I don't want to do that. Instead of this, what I would like to do is I would like to use the switch. Okay, so I will use switch. Switch inside the switch block. In switch, you can give the any number of possible conditions. If the value is 1, okay, so it says switch does not contain a valid case other than the default case. So you need to add the cases. Okay, so what you need to do is we passed switch here. So this is not going to evaluate for the each of the expression, right? So meaning each of the items. So this is a complete value of array. But I would like to, we will do that. Okay, if this is equals to 1, let me add the cases. If this is equals to 2, if this is equals to 3, okay, for each case, if this is equal to 4, let's say for if this is equals to 5, if this is equals to 6, and the last one, if this is not, if 6 are not there, default one will be the last, right? So we can add that also. Okay, let me say 7. Let's skip this. And you can see there are many boxes I used, many cases I used. Case 1, case 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 cases I created for the 7 days. But default is still there, and default you can add the actions, you cannot add the actions. That is fine. If you don't add, if you avoid this, avoid adding actions to the default, it is not going to harm. Okay, it will work for you. So now case 1, my case 1 is if the case day is equal to 1, in that case, okay, what I will do is I will add the case and add current date time. Okay, So let me cancel. Okay. So here, let me add the compose. Okay, I'm not going to perform any action. So I will say input, input is Monday. Okay, I'll just say this is if the day one is this compose to, and I will say Monday, Tuesday. Okay, instead of full name, I will use short. Wednesday. Okay, let it be. And this is equal to Thursday. Okay. Fifth day will be Friday. Sixth day will be Saturday. And seventh day will be Sunday. Okay. So I created and cases for each day number. Okay. So this is what I don't want to. I don't need this anymore, this condition and all, but still I'll keep. Okay, but because here we are directly using the output of this step, so this is not going to. This will just evaluated, and then it is not going to affect. This is fine. Okay. Now, okay. Now the thing is, this is what the day number, but this will return me the array. This will return me the array. Okay. So this is how I added. And I would like to evaluate this expression for any specific value. So what I will do is I will go again. Okay. Not here. Again, I will go and I will go to the dynamic content. I will say day number. And the way I did earlier, I will say 0. So what it does, it will just say, it will pick the first value of my array. Based on that, let's see if my first value, if this returns 1, which case will be executed. Here I defined this, if this equal to, this case is equal to 1. So now let's run this flow manually and test, test it. Okay, let's wait until this execution gets finished. Here you can see what it does. So in switch, expression result is 1. Now the next step evaluated for the case 1, meaning where the value is 1, meaning based on your expression value, you can define which case should be evaluated. So these are just case numbers, but the main role of this value, wherever the expression result matches with the any case, that case will be evaluated. Okay, I just shown you for the 0. Let me try it for something else. So let me say this is equal to 7, right? So now see what should it should execute my compose from the 7th and test a flow. And here I run the flow and let's wait until the execution gets finished. Okay, this is got executed. Filled input is Monday, output is Monday, but why this is executed? Okay, the expression result is 1. Okay, this might have not saved properly. This expression, right? This is the issue. Oh, what mistake I did is I did not updated this. You should say update. and then save. That's why this was shock for me. If I run this, I made the changes, but why the flow is executing to the same one? Right. So now you can see which case is executed. Okay, template language expression variable day number 7 cannot be evaluated because array index 7 is out of bound. So we have an index starting from 0 to 6. So we cannot use 7. We should say this is equal to 6. So even I forgot our array index start with a 0. Right, I updated this. Let me save and run the test again. So while learning these kind of challenges you may face, and it will be little bit tricky for anyone who is new to the programming. If you are familiar with the with Java, Python programming, then it is fine. You will be able to understood very easily. You can see this expression results into the 7. So that's why we have case 7 here that is looking for the seventh value. Based on your case expression result, it will execute the specific case, right? And my result will be Sunday, right? So like this, you can use. Now the problem is, see this expression, it was not evaluated properly. That's why it was not evaluated properly. That's why if the expression evaluates properly and the case is not defined, if the expression is evaluated properly, the case is not defined, it will execute the default one. What I will do is I will delete the case 7. Okay. If all the first 6 conditions are false, then what will be the possibility? The possibility is the last day name remains, right? So I will say Sunday. Instead of using the last 7th step, I will use default one. And now if I use this, you can see first 6 cases will be filled and it will execute the default one. Right. So this green tick mark shows this is executed. This is executed. Here, this is skipped. You can see this shows the gray circle with the horizontal bar in between is meaning that the step execution is skipped. Why that is skipped? Because the expression is not matching, and that's why these steps are skipped. Okay, this is fine. So in control, we saw how to use conditions. We saw how to use switch. Right. So we have something called, okay, let me edit this. Now let's move out of this conditional statements. We have something called loop. Okay. So here, if I come, I have an array and I would like to go through the each of the array. Let's say I wanted to calculate the square of each array. What I will do? Square of each array. So what I will do is I will pick. See, I have to go to each of the value. So in that case, what you can do is you can pick the control as a apply to each. Here you can see you can pass the array. This is fine, right? And what it will do is it will go through each of the array. So I can say for loop here for your convenience. Okay. So this will be the step name. Then I would like to compose something. So what I will do is I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use the current item into 2. Current item into 2. So I'm just multiplying it. I'm not squaring. If you want to do a square, you can use current item into current item. So this will give the square. Okay, as I started with this word square, so we will see that. So now test the flow. Okay, and let's see how many times this flow will get or this loop will execute. You will be able to see the number here. Okay, you can see, right? For first item, what it has done, the field value is 1 into 1, output is 1 into 1. Okay, this is not evaluated. This is not doing a calculation. So we will see why this is not doing a calculation. So maybe because this I'm not using the proper syntax here. So if I go and if I say mul and there is something called div is a function. Okay, div is not. So multiplication, if I say is equals to this, okay, items of for loop into items of for loop. And yes, so let's do this. Expression probably you can fix manually, or let me try to fix this, fix my expression. Okay, items for loop, fix my expression, create expression. No, this, okay, I should not use this, looks like, okay, okay, this is moving out. I don't want to use the expression builder. Here I will say items into items. And this should do a calculation for me. Items into item. Okay, save. If I use the, okay, input parameter for loop contains invalid expression, fix invalid expression for the input parameter of operation for loop. Okay, and I would like to do a multiplication. How to do a multiplication? So here, this is not performing a calculation to calculate the square. So what I will do, I will skip the calculation and I will use the value, current item value as it is. Okay, and we are just testing a loop here. So let's run this. I was thinking that we would be able to. Power FX supports the calculation, but in Power Automate, somehow here I'm not getting a functions for number operations. Okay, so this is one. If I go to the next, you can see the output is two, input is two, output is two, and three, three, four, four, five, five, like this, right? So what it does, it go through the each of the value. So each of the values. So now here you can again use the conditional expressions to do something on specific day. If the day number is equal to, so you will be able to get that day number from today. So here, if I come, so let's see whether this works or this will not work. We are able to loop. Okay, instead of this, okay, instead of going to the some other trials, we will focus on this apply to each. So we saw conditions, we saw switch, we saw apply to each. Now let's try do until. Now let's try do until. So again, this is a loop that is used with the conditions. So here you are going to specify the value and okay. So what I will do is I will execute this. Okay, this is executing. So we saw we have not passed any condition, but if I add this do until or if I move this inside this for loop, so here I will say the current item, if the current item is equal to 3. Okay. So meaning we are defining a condition to stop the loop. We are defining a condition to stop the loop. Okay, in do until. So whenever the item is equal to 3, it will stop looping for this. Do do execution or do while execution, it will stop. So compose and I will say current item. Okay, fine. Just to say external for loop will be executed for each of the item, but do until will not execute for each of the item. So it will execute only for the specified condition. Okay. Even what I can do is I can take this out because for loop we saw how it works. So let me close. So most of the things this is I'm just trying to show you the operations how it works on the sample data, but actually it works very well with the data or data set or the structured data. If you read the table from Excel, it works very well for them. Okay, so this is how it designed. I'm just trying to show you the output on sample. So this is current item. So here I'm not going to do that. So if I say day num and okay, so day num will not be okay. This is fine. This is fine. So what I did earlier was correct. So here day num because this is advanced loop. For loop is advanced loop that will go through the each of the item. And here we will just say, I would like to stop the execution whenever it meets the condition. If this is equal to 3, it should stop the execution. And let me say compose. Compose is there. Okay. Now test the flow, how it works. For loop will go through all the 7 items. All the 7 items. You can see this is executed for all the 7 items. Okay. And this is a loop inside loop. So it is still running. It should stop the execution so far. Looks like the loop is not going to stop. Okay. So the execution has been stopped. Right. So here, if you come, this got executed for 60 times. Why? Because what I said here is succeeded. Okay, this is fine. and this is 1 of 1. This is again 1 of 1. This is again 1 of 1. This is again 1 of 1. 1 of 1. But why this has run for the 60 times? Okay. So here, when I come to do until, what we specified is current item is equal to 3. Right. Current item. If this is equal to 3, it should, okay. Number of repetitions we have considered as a 60 instead of this. I will say 1. I don't want to execute this loop more than one time for any value. Okay. So now you can see this has executed only for the one value. Okay. So this is, so at the 1, this compose is executed. At the 2, this compose is executed. At 3, this compose is executed. I was expecting to stop the loop at 3, but this has not stopped. Okay. So this method is not good to use. So what I will do is delete this, delete this. This is my array. I would like to use this while loop. So how we use the while loop in programming? First of all, we create a variable as a day. We create a variable as a day. So here for each is applicable for array items. But if you want to do a, I was trying to explain the different manner, but that approach was not good. So if you want to do something for n number of times without any array input, okay. In that case, we can say x. I can say x is equals to, this is an integer value and 1. Okay, fine. Now this is 1. Another is I'll use do until. Here I will say x. Okay, variable of x. So x, if this is equals to 5, I would like to stop the execution. But how this value of x will be changed? So inside this, you need to use the variable action. You need to use the variable action that is called increment variable. So go to this, go to the variable actions and increment variable. So here you are going to increment the variable by 1. Okay, so what we are trying to do is we cannot use array directly with do until loop. But what we can do is we can start with the one value. We will keep increasing that value by 1 and until the value, meaning n number of times if you want to do, this is how you should do. What I have to do is I would like to send an email. Okay. Action I'm just performing 4 times, 5 times, it will perform the action. So let me search instead of finding out, send an email. Okay. So this will give me this action. Okay. So whatever you want to do before incrementing the variable. Because once the variable value is incremented again, it will go and check the condition. If the condition fails again, it will start the execution. So here I will say Brahma Bachude, and this is what my email ID. Specify the subject. So for what is the value of X, we are running the loop. And same thing I will do here. Okay. So just to show you how many times it triggers email to me. Okay. Let me reduce the value until 3. So last value, meaning whatever the value you specified here, that will be used to stop the execution. That will be executed. So 60 is nothing but retry count here. So it is not like that it will be executed for the 60 times, but here let me say test, and let's test the output. So I specified a condition if x is equal to 3, stop the execution. So you can see for first value, it has triggered an email. For second value, it has triggered email, but for third value, it has not triggered the value. So do until will stop the execution at specific point where specified condition is true. If the condition is true, it will stop the execution of do scope. Right. So this create a scope. Whatever you will add inside this, only those actions will be executed for those many number of times. You cannot use this with do, but yeah, if you wants to get a value of any specific length of array, you can use this. So here I used fixed value. Here I used fixed value. Instead of this, I can use another value and I can apply that. I will show you so how it works. So initialize variable x is initialized. Before that, I would like to initialize one more variable, that is to hold the values of day names. Okay. So I will say day name. This is fine. Okay, day name. It is not going to hurt me. And this is going to become an array of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay, let's try to save this invalid expression. So this is text. It should be surrounded by the double quotation. So if you are familiar with the multiple languages, this kind of issue happens. Well, sometimes you will use some languages support the single quotation, some languages support the double quotation, right? So this is saving, the flow is saved. So these are the values, right? Then inside the do, let me say, and let's take the length of, this is the collection. So dynamic I will use, and let's pass the day name as a day. Okay. If this is the length, all right, if this is the length, and length is always greater than index. So array index start with a 0, right? So I should start my variable value, initialize the variable. This is with 0. So now I will do a slicing. I will do a slicing here. Okay, I will apply this loop on this Monday, Tuesday initialized variable. Okay, so how I can do this? So the loop has started with x is equal to 0. Okay. And if this is equal to 7, the length of 7, it should stop the execution. This is what I am expecting. Okay. So here you can see for first iteration. Okay. For first iteration, I should build variable x, day name of variable x. Because see, initially variable x value will be 0. So this will evaluate. And similarly, again, dynamic content, day name of this is the array and x is the index. X is the index. So we are going to use this. Let's understand, try to understand what I'm doing. What I did, we have an array. I already told that if you want to slice item, if you want to get the value of this array, so 0, if you pass day name square bracket 0, it will pick the Monday. If you pass day name square bracket to 1, it will pick the Tuesday. And here my value 0 value is sitting in X. For my next iteration, that value becomes 1. So it will pick Tuesday. So this is how it will send me 7 emails. And let's try. Not sure whether this works properly or should I get any error. But this should works properly. And yes, it is executing. Oh my God, how many times email it is going to trigger? Okay, good. This has triggered a 7 email for each day. You can see first expression is evaluated for the Monday, second is evaluated for Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay, this is fine. This order we can't control. Meaning the email receiving order we can't control because all these emails are triggered in fraction of second. You can see all the timing for all is 1.04, right? So for each collection, so we are able to use for each loop on the collection, do until loop on the collection. This is how we can use, or this is how we should use, I can say. So for each I I discussed do until, I discussed how to use the switch. And if you want to send an email on any specific day, you can add that. You can add a switch expression here. Inside this, you can create switch and then add this. So like this, you can build the logic. So condition, switch, for each, and do until loop is used to build the logic in Power Automate. How you want to play around the data structure. This is what we are still not yet familiar with the methods of each type of data structure. Data structure is nothing but string. I will discuss date time. I will discuss how functions. I will discuss working with functions for the array. I will discuss functions for the objects in my next video. Still, we are left with the two different action, that is switch and terminate. But this is, sorry, not switch, scope and terminate. But this is used for the error handling purpose. So we will see how to handle the errors. But before that, we should go through the few more videos, and you should know the data structures, and you must be familiar with the what kind of errors we get. In that case, you will be able to use. So terminate is used to terminate the flow execution at specific point, but scope is used to group the actions into a single unit. And we will see how these two together can be used for the error handling, but that will be a last part. So I hope you like the content of this video. Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a nice day. Please do not forget to subscribe webchamp and learn data technologies. Thank you.